Have you or a loved one been interested in picking up an Instax camera only to discover that there are 12 of them, causing you to be confused and possibly even afraid? You may be entitled to watch this video. On this episode of In an Instant, we are going to break down your options for shooting the most widely used film format on planet Earth, Instax, to figure out which camera might be right for you, or someone you think could use a creative spark in their life, because they don't really have that much going on. It's like, hey, try this. Maybe it'll give you something to do.
The kind of photography that would become part of the human being. Press a button and have the picture.
Welcome to In an Instant. My name is Ben, and today we're focusing on the Instax camera universe. Every camera produced by Fujifilm for the Instax format. We'll distinguish between them and hopefully narrow down which one might be right for you, if any at all. As a point of clarification, there are other cameras out there by companies like Lomography or Mint that make Instax compatible cameras as well. But today we're focusing on the ones that Fuji themselves produce for their own film. Instax Film has spent a quarter century developing photos under the sun, and Fuji historically has a difficult to follow track record of instant camera production, with a weird 10-year gap between their latest wide release, for example, and a seemingly one-day gap between some of their Instax mini releases. But today we have the whole family under one roof. What do they talk about at dinner? Hopefully not foreign policy. That is often really bad. There are three Instax film formats: Instax Mini, Square, and Wide. Fujifilm currently produces 6 cameras for the Mini format, 2 for the Square format, 2 for the Wide format, and one that is like a floating head with no body. The first format we'll discuss is Instax Mini, the most popular kid in school who's getting into all the best colleges, and he's always eating red peppers at lunch to get stronger, with red peppers being an excellent source of vitamin C and A. Instax Mini brings 6 fighters to the ring, 4 analog and 2 hybrid cameras. Viewers of In an Instant will be keenly aware of this, but for the first timers, the distinction between an analog camera and a hybrid camera is pretty significant. When you press the shutter button of an analog Instax camera, the shutter opens and light passes through the lens, striking the film inside. And as it processes through the rollers, you have created a one-of-a-kind image. No 2 analog Instax Mini pictures will ever truly be the same, as they are representations of an instant in reality that can never occur again. These analog prints are thus imbued with a feeling of direct connection to the moment they were captured. And looking through them later can feel something like sensory time travel, with there being a more palpable resonance to the physical image than your average digital print. Some people, however, simply aren't seeking this connection and are more happy to take an image digitally, look at it first, and then print it if they like it. And some people don't like taking pictures at all. Those people are helpless, and we won't be referencing them again. But for those looking to take digipics and print them out onto film, that's what Instax hybrid cameras are for. When you hit the shutter, the light hits a sensor, which interprets the data from the light into an image. And you could take several photos in a row and delete one if you hate it, or even if you just strongly dislike it, without ever having to expose it onto film, which costs money. You could, in a sense, just use these hybrid cameras as digital cameras and send the files to your phone or computer. But you probably wouldn't be very stoked about them because not all digital cameras are created equal, and the sensors on the Instax cameras can't compete with something like a modern phone camera. The sensors are adequate enough to get you fun lo-fi digital photos, however, and I'm on record as saying I do love the way they look, borrowing from the early Digicam 2000s nostalgia instead of the nostalgia for the quote-unquote film look. And the sensors are good enough to produce good-looking pictures on the small canvas of instant film. Although Instax Mini is mini, it's actually a big window to project light onto. And as such, analog Instax pictures look much different than digital ones. The digital sensors are so much smaller than the size of a sheet of film that they can't produce the same depth of field as the analog cameras. The lenses have to be much wider on the digital cameras to accommodate the small sensor, which produces an image with really deep focus. There are creative modes to simulate a more compressed look, but often these digital images will simply be flatter looking than the analog ones. That's why Tim Apple, who makes a phone with a small sensor, invented portrait mode, which uses computational methods, aka Unreal and Witchcraft-based methods, to make portrait mode possible, which fakes the look of a larger sensor. Now that we know this information that will have a major impact on our lives, we can actually get down to distinguishing these 6 saucy Sallys. It's not a thing. For those interested in analog pictures, you've got 4 options to choose from, which are similar, but there is one major winner in this category in my book. The Instax Mini SE, 12, 41, and 99, a totally logical sequence of letters and numbers, all share the same 60mm f12.7 lens. Starting from simplest to most sophisticated, the SE is virtually feature-free, with a simple yoink to turn it on, and some icons to help guide the camera toward a properly exposed image, depending on lighting conditions. This is designed to be the most basic Instax camera you can buy, and due to business, it is only available at Walmart. Thanks, business. Next up on the rung is the similar looking Mini 12. Its bonuses over the SE are the selfie mirror and one further step to the lens, allowing you to extend it into a close-up mode, allowing close focus of 0.3 meters. The Mini 12 is $20 more expensive than the SE, but I'd pay $20 for that close-up feature. I'm telling you right now that it's a big asset on a tiny picture. Strangely, the Mini 12 does not have any exposure controls, which I'm pretty surprised the SE has given it's supposed to be basic as. Next is the 41. This is not technically an upgrade over the bubbly 12, as it has the identical lens with the close-up mode, the selfie mirror, the flash is always on, but I prefer the way the 41 is materially designed. The way its lens turns and clicks, its overall operation, and the way it handles feels a bit smoother than the 12. But choosing between these two is mostly just a matter of taste. And price, I guess. The price for the 41 is noticeably higher than that of the 12. Perhaps the quality of the build actually is better, or you're maybe paying a $30 premium for the satisfying texture on the body. You know I can't stop touching this camera. Finally, there's the leader of the pack, and spoiler alert, this is my favorite Instax camera by far, the Instax Mini 99. The 99 is meant for someone who wants to have control over the image, the creative type who journals under tree. It has that 60mm lens, but it has 3 steps of focus to produce sharper images across those distances. It has a ridiculous mechanical vignette mode, it has exposure compensation to make photos lighter or darker, there's a little screen on the back through which you can toggle through different shooting modes, allowing you to do double exposures, long exposures, force higher shutter speeds, you've got a self-timer back here, you can even turn the flash off. I know. It's something Fuji doesn't love allowing people to do, as it's more challenging to get a properly exposed photo without it. And most outrageously, the 99 also has color effects you can add to your pictures, jumbling up the plain look of Instax and giving lots of options with confusing letter codes. These effects are accompanied by an analog light array that flashes onto the film itself before it ejects. This feature was voted the winner in the In an Instant You Crazy for That award in 2024. The Mini 99 is the Instax camera that I grab for the most, and although it's noticeably more expensive than the other analog models, it's unquestionably better suited for the more artistically inclined customer, of which I am one of them. Now let's move into the realm of the digital hybrid camera. The Evo and Lee Play are gorgeous little digital cameras that use a weird technology to basically scan the digital photos you take onto Instax film when you print them. The Lee Play Plus is a fairly new entry into the lineup, replacing its Plusless predecessor in the fall of 2025 and introducing a selfie camera to above its rear screen. So with the Lee Play, you're actually getting 2 cameras instead of 1. Just as there weren't mammoth-sized distinctions between the analog minis, there isn't an earth-shattering difference between the 2 hybrids either. Both have the same 28mm f2 lens, the same 1/5 inch CMOS sensor. They are functionally different in that the Lee Play has the new selfie camera, but otherwise share similar photo filters and fun ways to dress up your picture before printing it. The Evo accomplishes this via its very killer design, with satisfying tactility on its lens, its side dial, and the film eject lever if you wish to print one. The Lee Play cycles through its effects with less pizzazz, but that's because it's made room for even more stuff that society didn't expressly ask for but now has anyway. That is Instax sound albums, which allows for the recording of audio during the capture of an image. This is completely ridiculous, of course, but why not? Before messing around with the Lee Play Plus, I would have given the Evo a nod for its design alone, but at a strikingly similar price point, I do have to give the Lee Play my vote for Best Hybrid Mini. Therein lies our Instax Mini lineup, a crescendo of madness as they add more and more features. Even though there's a lot to love on the Lee Play, I still have got to go with my analog 99 as my pick, given I'm an analog person, filled with blood and not a computer, filled with wires and chips, and I like my cameras to reflect that. On to the square format. Who doesn't love the classic square instant image that's not a Polaroid, but it's actually a little smaller? Fujifilm used to make hybrid cameras for this format that they brought into the world without its permission only 7 years ago, but lately have gone full analog, offering only the Instax SQ40 and Instax SQ1. Even more so than the Instax mini cameras, these cameras are essentially identical, with no discerning features between them. Both share the same 65mm lens, which has the close-up extension to focus from 0.3 meters to 0.5 meters. Both fire the flash automatically with no way of disabling it. These cameras are designed with the clear intent of making the picture-taking process as simple as possible. While I've used these cameras for a few years, I don't love them as much as the minis because they can't really do that much and can only provide me with one kind of picture, a flash photo. And that can be fine and good, but it's most certainly not what I always want. So when I do shoot Instax Square, I usually use more extravagant niche offerings that are only for people with cursed brains like myself. Almost finally, because we do have a bonus doinker to discuss, we must address the wides in the room. After In an Instant fans beckoned loudly for 5 years, Fujifilm finally revived their efforts to make Instax wide cameras. This format is the same height as square and wide, but with surface area almost approximating the canvas of a Polaroid, though of a much different aspect ratio. With this revived effort to inject the format with more love, they introduced the wide 400 and the wide Evo, the latter being the most expensive and crazy-ass Instax camera they've made. It features a larger sensor than the Mini Evo and Leplay, and almost takes decent digital pictures. But with a 16mm lens and a still tiny 1/3 inch sensor, your phone will still beat it in that category. Similar to the Mini Evo, it has a range of effects and filters you can layer onto your images, but lacks some of my favorites that can melt the digitalness of the Evo Mini images and give you something particularly novel in the prints. The wides, when printed, don't approximate the analog picture look particularly well, but rather produce its own look that may work well for you if you don't come preloaded with baggage in your heart. The analog wide camera, Monsieur 400, is an exceedingly simple point and shoot, akin to the basic Instax mini cameras we mentioned earlier, equipped with only a self-timer and 2 zones of focus. It also only comes in this green color so you can shoot bangers at wartime while remaining camouflaged. Last but least, we have to talk about the Instax PAL. It must be said that it is hurting nobody that this camera exists. It's really cute, it's so weird. It has the same sensor as the Evo and Leplay, but dispenses with the notion of printing onto film and camera at all. Instead, it's almost like a web camera from 2005. You can take a picture and then open the app and find all the digipics you shot. Quite heinously, the app allows you to save them with a realistic border burned in, which is unequivocally stolen valor, I'm sorry. It also allows you to program sounds to be played when the shutter is pressed, which is a dangerous opportunity for a guy like me. The PAL can pair with an Instax printer like the Instax Mini Link, or even print on the wide printers, and in seeing this little camera shoot onto this printer, you can get the idea of what's happening inside the Evo or Leplay, just deconstructed into a different form factor. The PAL is only about $30, which is almost free. The only reason not to get one is if you don't want one, if you just don't want it. We have really taken a trip around the stars here, so just to recap, we found some friendly faces in the Instax Mini land, with my favorite pick being the Mini 99. We visited the House of Square, which didn't have much furniture or even locks on the doors. Between these, you're only making an aesthetic decision. And then we went wide, taking a look at the basic analog 400 and feature-rich but premium-priced wide Evo. Then we met the PAL, who said some stuff he can't take back. Ultimately, all of this comes down to the reason you want an instant camera in the first place. Are you trying to feel something? Are you trying to just goof off? Are you indecisive and want to take a bunch of photos and then print one you like? Hopefully in this episode, you got a good sense of the matter. And if you didn't, I guess I actually don't care. Thank you for watching In an Instant. Go be a pal and go dummy on that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more reviews, shoots, breakdowns, and all things instant. Bye.